Okay, it's going to be 109 degrees here in Quartzsite, Arizona today. Yesterday, by the way, it got to be 106, I think it was, and inside the RV with the air conditioning going, it was 101. But I'm from Southern California, which basically is a desert that we pump water into to make it look green, and it gets hot there as well. So I was raised around this for over 50 years. I wanted to say there are certain channels I do myself follow real religiously on YouTube, including Puddin, the Traveling Redneck, Line Screw One. He's a guy out of British Columbia, Canada, with a very interesting twist on how he views conservatives and liberals and all that. Boger's RV Rat Busters and American Super Tramp. The reason I bring those people up is they go after the people who don't want to do anything in society, just sit there in the desert in their van, like this neighbor of mine over here who thinks he's going to be able to make it through this heat. He's not going to make it. You know, I got an RV, and George's got an RV. We have air conditioners on. We get the money for electricity and all that, so we don't care. You know, I got an air conditioner up here running. I'll put the roof air on later when I'm ready to go to bed, basically, sort of cool down the bedroom. But the only area I need cleared is right here. And I have cooled is right here, and I have a fan that's over here too as well, blowing the air back at me. I bring up those channels because these people that are living in vans out here in the desert that don't want to participate in the American dream, don't want to participate in society, don't feel that they should have to work for a living. I just wanted to say something to them because they don't understand how Social Security works. Social Security is not based on how much money you paid in the system, because if it was, you would live about 18 months, and after that you'd be out of money. Okay? All the money you pay in the system is only good for about 18 months. How is Social Security really working? You have children. Your children hopefully get good jobs. It is your job to make sure they do. And as they are working, they are contributing into the Social Security system, as you have been your entire working life. And then you decide to retire. Your children are continuing to pay in there, and your benefit is actually being derived from the money they're paying into the system. Your money paid for some person that retired 30 years ago or 40 years ago. Okay? So it's a fair system. It was designed to take care of the person who is destitute on the other side of town, who's having to eat cat food and dog food, you know. I mean, we're better off now than we were back then, but that's the way that it works. Now, if you aren't contributing into the American dream, if you aren't contributing this into Social Security, in other words, taxes are coming out of your paycheck, then you get a minimalized amount of money. It's really low. It's like about $600 that you will get on retirement from the government. I'll tell you who that's designed for. Let's say we have in the old days, you know, when I was young, in the old days, the father went off to work, right? the mother stayed at home. She did the cleaning, cooking, doing things with kids, having the ladies of the neighborhood into her house maybe once a week for a cup of coffee. They, took turns as to who was hosting the party. And so she didn't work outside of the home, and chances are she didn't really contribute much in the way of finance to the family. However, she did everything else, and it was basically, they didn't have to hire a cleaner, a maid. They didn't have to hire a cook, a babysitter for the kids, because she was everything. So to help her in retirement, as long as she's living with that man, they both retire. He gets his Social Security benefits, very high. Then she gets her little $600 kicker that comes in to the income as well. Then he dies. That's normally what happens. The man dies before the woman. When he dies, she gets hold of the Social Security Administration and puts in for widow's benefits on his money. Meaning her $600 stops, and now she starts getting his benefits, which is the bulk of the money coming into the house. And yeah, she's taking a pay cut of $600 a month, but she'll just have to adjust her lifestyle for that. All right? When my wife died, I took her benefits. So basically, I can work. My money goes into my taxes. It goes into my Social Security, which eventually builds up to the point of where it's much bigger than hers. And I can switch back over to my benefits and let hers go. Right. If you are not contributing, if you are not participating in the American way, which is you go to work every day, and whether or not you like your job, hey, you know what? You don't like your job, here's what you do. You learn to do another job. You get the skills, the knowledge base to do something different, and then you pursue that. All right? I'll give you an example. I had been in finance for years, and for whatever, I won't discuss the reasons, but I quit. And I sat at home for about probably 2.5 years getting my act together. I was suffering from PTSD, so I still suffer from it, but it was really bad back then. I couldn't function at all. But I did get into my computers quite a bit, and networking and all that. I mean, I was self-taught. I got books on it, but I basically self-taught myself. I worked with Unix quite a bit. And one day, in the Help Wanted ads in the Daily News and Green Sheet in the Los Angeles area, was an ad from a company called Earthlink. And Earthlink was looking for some technical support people. Well, since I've did tech support for a little bit, and I knew computers well enough, I went down and I interviewed, and they hired me like the next day. And I worked for them like, 7 days a week. And it was a job I really enjoyed, because it was something I used to do for friends of mine, was to help them with the computer, and I'd do it for free. And somebody was actually willing to pay me to do that. Wow, that was so cool. And then I got up in the ranks in the company. And with my stock options and everything else, I was pulling down 6 figures. And which was more money than I had ever made. And it was doing something that I loved. So I made the decision to enhanced my skill sets and my knowledge base to the point where I was actually desirable by another company, another industry, to do what I wanted to do. And I was paid well for it. So if you're not wanting to participate in the great American dream, that's your loss. The rest of us are not going to help you. We're not there to coddle you and, oh, well, this is the village idiot, we got to help him. No, we don't. We just let you pay the price for your own inactions, and the rest of us get the fruit of our efforts, the fruits of our labor. You get, because you didn't work, you have no fruit from your labor, so yeah. It's like the fruit in your case fell down to the ground and was eaten up by the bugs, okay? It's a bummer, but these people that I mentioned do a very good job of attacking those who, like Bob Wells, think that you don't have to contribute to society, that you can just plant yourself out in the desert in a van and you can survive. And that is BS. You need to be part of society. You are shaming your parents and everyone that came before you. My family did not land at Ellis Island. My family arrived in Virginia in 1680. And yes, we had plantations. And my dad's branch of the family moved to the free state of Missouri. And you know as Missouri, because you're northern. But it's Missouri. And we did not have any slaves once we were up there, okay? No plantation, just a farm. And we had kids in the families, and those were cheap farm labor, you know? That's the way they were looked at. You didn't get attached to your children, really technically, until they got to be 18, and they were ready to go out on their own. And then, yeah, you'd like to see them once a year or whatever, but no big deal. They could die from anything prior to 18. My dad was about 1 year old when the swine flu, also known as the Spanish flu, only because Spain actually reported it, but it all came from the United States, and the military of the U.S. is what helped spread the swine flu to every other part of the country, of the world. So we should not go after China so heavily about them being the home of the COVID-19, because we are the ones who brought the swine flu to the rest of the world. That flu, by the way, killed 7 of my aunts and uncles that were about a year old or so. You know, buried one after another, just right next to each other in the cemetery. I went there. I saw it when I was 8 years old. So I didn't put it all together at that point. I didn't know about the swine flu or anything like that. I just knew that my dad was born in 17. He worked during the Depression. He rode horses, you know, on ranches. He had a good life. He enjoyed himself. He was doing what he enjoyed doing. You know, if you can't enjoy what you're doing, perhaps you can just lay down on Highway 10. That's the one going through Arizona here. Just lay down on it and wait for a semi to come along and use you as a speed bump. Because if you're not going to participate in society, we don't need you. And I'll leave it at that. I try to be positive, but there are people that are doing nothing for themselves whatsoever, and therefore nothing for the rest of us. This is Pops. The sun is shining outside. It's going to be a nice day, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Remember, tomorrow has been promised to no one. Take care.